Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us this morning on Daybreak Extra. Now it's time for us to open the phone lines to hear from you, your opinions and views on the topic that we've chosen. And we're talking about home discipline. Is corporal punishment still effective? Now that's the question that we're going to ask, and hence the topic for of discussion. Home discipline is a critical aspect of shaping children into responsible and well-behaved individuals. For generations, corporal punishment, physical discipline such as spanking or flogging, has been a common method of correcting bad behavior. However, in recent years, its effectiveness and ethical implications has sparked widespread debate amongst parents, educators, and psychologists. I mean, when we talk about parents, educators, and psychologists, I will talk about the psychological aspect of it. That definitely, when you keep flogging or punishing your children, they have a way of it has a way of creating resentments between children and parents. But then definitely we'll get to hear from you if that is so or not. Proponents argue that when used appropriately, corporal punishment can instill discipline and deter misconduct. Critics, however, highlight the potentials for psychological harm, strained parent-child relationships, and the risks of abuse. With shifting societal norms and alternative discipline methods gaining popularity, is corporal punishment still effective tool for home discipline in today's world? Now that's the question that, like I said, we are going to ask you, parents and teachers, probably, if we have some of them joining us, and also psychologists if they are watching us this morning. So we'd like to hear from any one of these people that I've mentioned. Regardless, we still want to hear from parents to know, because you are the one running your homes. So is it really effective? Is it still something that works for you and your children? Sumayya.
Yeah.
I know we had this conversation already.
A long time ago. So we already know where I stand,
definitely.
Right?
So we already have a caller. Let's pick this caller before we continue. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your name and location, please.
My name is Ibrahim Pocho, calling from Kebbi State.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim, for joining us this morning. Go ahead. What's your take?
All right. I'll be talking about child discipline. If you look at the environment today, you find out that things are, getting worse day by day, due to the lack of proper home training. So, and that happens because of the way the parents and the children took their lives today, not minding the gravity attached. Like you mentioned, mostly you find out that the parents give children much luxury, and that lead to home destruction, and likewise, because of that, even in the school, when the teachers are trying to, caution your children, then the parents will leave their houses and go to the school and attack the teachers there. There are several cases, even go to the court, because of the teachers are trying to correct the wrongs of the children that, are carrying on the school, trying to, maneuver things, interact them with other people, other children, and to spoil their lives. So, and even in your neighborhood, when your neighbor is trying to correct your children, then you end up fighting the neighbor. There is no how that somebody will want to correct your children and you accept. And that is why, even if a person is doing something wrong, nobody will be able to talk to the person, because if you talk to the person, and then the parents of that person will end up calling the police on you. And that is why today things are getting worse. Even the proper way of dressing, like you just mentioned, that child abuse, that, and it happens because of the mode of dressing. Most of the children, impact today, and nobody will have the right to talk to them, because their parents will now, is it your own children? Why are you prognosing? Let their children live the life of their choice. So that is why so much rapes and abuse is going rampant in the country today. So I would suggest that we, the parents, we should understand that we cannot give the strict discipline on our own. People have to come in to assist us. That is my take on this.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim, for your take this morning. I mean, he practically almost spoke about a lot of things that I have also touched on during the intro. You know, you don't bring up a child, you can't bring up a child alone. The society, the community you live in has to help. And then also when you take your children to school, you have to give some certain leverage for teachers to instill discipline on your children, because you're taking them there to learn things that, you know,
the only
probably
thing I didn't agree with him on is the fact that sometimes dressing makes not because dressing, of course I'm good with moral dressing, but I believe that it should not be a reason for someone to, you know, to rape someone, to abuse someone, because we've seen situations where you even be dressed in your abaya and you go to the market and you see people still even trying to touch you. So I don't think dressing is one of the we are pushing for moral dressing, because we all know you can still look classy even when modestly dressed.
All right, hello, good morning.
Good morning, Sumayya. Good morning, Fatima.
Good morning, Fatima. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Go ahead, tell us what's your take on the topic of discussion.
Well, honestly speaking, you know, discipline is paramount important. But corporal punishment, blocking a child, there is certain age. If a child did not reach, don't try to block him. Like I can say to me, like a child under 8 years of age, don't try to block him. Because by the time he adopted that blocking, he will not listen a word. And I can remember I attended a boarding school. I know my mates who have been used to caning, and even if you can give them 50 slash, they don't bother. You know, at that time it was a sergeant in the secondary school that blocking a child if you misbehave. But these children, they can take 50 lashes. They don't bother. So if you try to be blocking child at a tender age, by the time he adopted, I'm telling you, he will become just a stubborn, very, very stubborn. But the way that you can train a child, try and draw him nearer to you. Show him all kind of friendly manners. Show him kind of kindness. Show him sincerity. When he make a mistake, try to advise him. But blocking cannot correct a child. And as I said earlier, discipline is a very important thing that can correct a child. Because I can see now when I walk in, you can see a director. You know, his payment cannot take him a month. Why? Because he lack financial discipline. A director, he will receive a payment before end of the month. He will be start looking for a money, credit everywhere. Why? Because he lack financial discipline. Discipline is very, very important. It's supremely important. But blocking, I'm telling you, it will not help. Because all these, mostly these recruited Boko Haram that we see in Meduguri, they are children of block, family. When you be blocking child, he will become just an enemy of the society. Whatever you ask him to do, the child will go ahead and do it. So the parents should try and understand. Blocking cannot help. Even teachers in the school, blocking cannot help. You know, there is teachers. Their own is not even discipline. It's a wickedness. To be sincere, you can block a child. You see a blood on his back. You know what was it fixed?
Yeah.
It is far from the discipline. So we should try and understand. Be soft to these children. Sometimes we by the time they go wrong, we just have to be hard for them. So thank you. That's my text.
I mean, thank you so much, Fatima,
for
speaking.
That.
You know, coming from a parent, definitely that has, grown or coming from the north, that this kind of discipline is one thing that you can't take away from our fathers and mothers. I mean, you have a lot that you want to say.
Black are always black, because I've even seen, even in the woke country like America, blacks always say, please whoop your kids.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we see the comedians like Kevin Hart and Chris and the rest joke about it.
It's really it's really happening. Like, some kids tend to be really stubborn. Some kids are made extra different, and you would see yourself talking to a child, and the child is actually talking back at you, and of course you're trying your own disciplinary ways, but then your child is finding something else on social media, and as much as we try to curtail their use of social media, they just still find a way to get to it.
Definitely. So, even if you stop them at home and they go out to meet with their friends that have gadgets that they can actually see those things, you can't actually take it away. Absolutely. And you're talking about digital parenting. Now, if you look at the olden ways of parenting and now, there's a lot of difference.
Of course.
I mean, now you could see some children insulting their parents, and they are skeptical about touching them.
Recently, I saw Cardi B negotiating with her son. She was telling him, come into the house, and he was sitting down just looking at her, and she said, okay, come in and I'll give you candy. And he stood up. I'm like, my mother would never tell you come in and she would just look at you like this.
I mean, someone was telling me yesterday,
to be
there are different punishments that you can actually give your children. Someone was telling me yesterday that the two sisters, one did well in school and one was not doing really well, and then the mother said, okay, you are supposed to go for holidays, your sister is going because she did well, you are not going anywhere. And that is a way, so that's a way to kind of not flogging, but at least punishing the child to know that, okay, you need to do good in school, no flogging, no insults whatsoever, but there are other punishments aside from flogging, because when you do that, definitely it has a way of risking abuse, like we said. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Do we still have the caller?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Your name and location, but please turn down the volume of your TV so that I can hear my voice.
John is my name, from Kaduna.
All right, Mr. John, thank you so much for joining us.
I really appreciate today's topic. It's a very good one. It is one of the things that is happening in our society. The truth is, I want to use this opportunity again to thank Trust TV for this program that you allow us to be able to communicate freely. I like it. You are different from any other stations that we are watching.
Thank you so much.
It's a good one.
I
like that. I pray you will continue doing so that you can hear minds of Nigeria.
Definitely.
Now, back to our topic. You see, a lot of things are happening. And things are changing. And people are refusing to understand the changing that is going around us. I call this topic on my own the consequences of yes to wrong. Consequences to yes to wrong. Because today people accept wrong things as yes. People fail to understand the training of 20, 30 years is different from now. That is why one needs to be careful with his environment. I heard somebody from Maiduguri saying it's not good to flog a child. I tell him that it depends on children. I am a parent also. The truth is, among my kids, there are some I beat, there are some from my voice. So I study who they are, how they operate. The ones that don't like beating, from my voice, they are scared already. The ones, again, are not scared of my voice, I beat them. And I am seeing changing in them. And that is how I was also trained from the family I came from. In fact, I was trained in a military background. I grew up in the military barracks. They take no nonsense. And when I joined the society, I realized my training is different from any other training. So the same as a civilian, my daddy was a military man, so the same that training I passed to my own children. is working for them, is good for them, as it has been good for me too. Recently, a child was beaten in a school, and the mother, the parent, the grandfather of the parent went to the school and dragged the teacher. Why would you beat a child? You see, it's the wrong thing. They discover the child is playing during the class, and then the only way to stop the child from doing so, instead of wasting school fees, is to caution the child. And then the parents say from their house they don't beat the child. So I have to interfere into it. Meaning, if a child is doing a wrong thing and a teacher cannot beat him, it will affect the child. Which means the child can never ask the teacher, sir, I don't understand. He will not be attended to because of the family background.
Yeah.
Yes. So they will not listen to the child will be sidelined, and the parent will keep paying school fees. And all the teachers know the family of that child, and whatever is doing, whether right or wrong, nobody is going to tell you anything because that is the pattern of their house, and to affect the child. If a family or if a man can train his own child on his own, then there is no need taking him to school. The reason why you take him to school because you want another different training that will help the child to grow. So I have to interfere, talk to the child, and say it will affect this child. You should stop it from now henceforth. In fact, if the child has been treated, allow God to take control. But of course, the school or the teachers, there are some punishments they know they will not do it. But there are some simple punishments they will do to a child to correct the child because they know some parents will not do that.
Yeah.
And they are doing that to help the child. So, of course, the type of children we are getting today is as a result of I don't care families. Some parents are just giving birth to children, but they are not parents. And we have so many of them. So the consequences of their own reaction that was passed through their children, and we have some type of children that you don't know whether it's demons that produce them. Uncontrollable children, will I call them nuisance? And then it's affecting the society today. We have thieves, we have prostitution, we have armed robbers, we have troublemakers, we have a lot of things you will see because of the type of training. We are praying that God is going to help us, some parents who understand. So I see nothing wrong in punishing the child if the child does wrong. Because when you tell him stop, the child stops. Of course, there is no any punishment. Don't steal and you don't steal. Of course, there is no punishment. And then don't.
Yeah. All right. Wait.
I think we lost that. First of all, I just wanted to say, because immediately he started talking, I was just, laughing, getting a reaction out of me. First of all, I wanted to say, which child would hear your voice and not listen to you?
When he said when they hear his voice.
Because
actually,
when it comes to a mother and a father, we all know that because
the father
of the
figure.
see finish, every day you see a mother, there is no fear because the mother has to give this disciplinary and also a nurturing side.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's both sides. So sometimes when even she's leaning towards the disciplinary, you're still looking at her with a more nurturing look. But a father figure is that one that you barely see, as in you always see him
not all the time at home. Yeah, exactly. Because he goes out
and he is supposed to be the instiller of discipline. He's supposed to be the person you see and you fear. But if your child does not fear you, there's a problem though.
Definitely.
So there is something I agree with him, because I think we had this conversation earlier with someone, I can't remember, and he made mention that you have to treat you discipline kids based on who they are. They are different.
He made mention of that too,
and that was immediately he said, "I'm like, oh my God,
he knows his children because he has made it clear that there are some that he beats and there are some that he doesn't, because he knows them by their behaviors and characters. I mean, if you know that you have a stubborn child that doesn't listen to you, that doesn't respect you or the mother, definitely there are some,
resort to extra
anger.
measures.
Anger would actually make you do things that you wouldn't even want to do at the end of the day. But there are some parents that take it too far again, because there are some beating that when you see parents give their children, you'll be wondering, is it just really the parent, the child's parent? Because maybe when you find out the reason for the beating, it maybe it's not something too serious. But because maybe the person has temper issue, or and they cannot control their emotions, so hence they take it out on their kids, no matter how little. And then we still, like he made mention of parents going to schools when their children are disciplined. If you have a child that is nuisance that's causing trouble every day in school, beating other people's children. What do you expect the teachers to do? Should they watch the child beat these children to death or break some parts of their bodies and what have you, simply because your child is stubborn? And then you go to intervene. I mean, we've seen stories where they said some parents actually sued some teachers because they disciplined their children, even though some teachers also take it too far. The flogging, you see them leaving scars on their children. And parents don't beat my child to that stupor. Why are you doing that?
It's allowed to stroke, but then not to the extent of leaving, a massive scar. Just a bit of pain to tell the child that what you're doing is wrong. I think
exactly.
But
so let's pick this
I'm a stroker. I agree with
you. Definitely. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my two lovely sisters.
Good morning. Is it Abasekong?
Yes. You've tried getting my name.
No. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. I can see Fatima nodding her head. That's lovely. This morning, I sincerely appreciate what the topic people are always bringing on board for us. This is a think tank for parents and for teachers likewise. Moral decadence and indiscipline has been a veneer. It has been eating deep into our soul and body. And what has been the problem? Our mothers lack the ability to handle their home. If we go through the whole book, Proverbs chapter 31, mothers, that are their primary role. While the father is out, it is the civic duty of the mother to ensure that the home is laid on a solid foundation. That are their primary duty, to ensure that he knows the problem of facing her daughter or her child. Like a daughter who is having her menstrual cycle cannot go and tell the dad. Always tell the mom. So if you find a child misbehaving, trace the mother. Trace the character of the mother. It's just like a sucking child. When he sucks the mother breast, what happens? He will bite the mother, and the mother will strike that baby. The baby will still repeat after a period of time, which means even from the womb, our children misbehave. And then we also need to understand in our holy book, Proverbs 20 verse 11. It says that our children, they know what they are doing. A child knows what he does. If a child steals, would you tell me that child does not know that what he did is wrong?
Yeah.
And they said we should teach a child how to go so that when he grows up, he will not depart from such things he's doing. We must ensure to teach our children the way to go. If we don't teach, that is why we are having problem in the Senate. That is why we are having a problem in the presidency. That is why we are having problems in our industry. Thank you. God bless you this morning.
Thank you so much.
And have a fruitful day.
Thank you so much.
And wonderful day.
Thank you so much. You too. We wish you the same. And he has also spoken, about this is a topic that definitely will resonate with so many parents watching.
Yeah. But then me, I would always say what has to be said. Appreciate his opinion. Even though I disagree strongly on that opinion. First of all, when it comes to parenthood these days, even way before, it has to be mother and father. I do not believe parenthood, it has to be the mother. We just stated clearly earlier that the fact that kids tend to not fear women as they should, or mothers as they should. So father figure is that figure that would instill fear to discipline a child. And secondly, kids, most times you see parents doing their own part. But kids will go out and pick up behaviors from the streets, from their peers, from social media, and it ends up not really being the fault of the parent. Parents can try. Now, this is the reason why, we are even given a pass for parent to sometimes stroke the child, not to the extent of leaving the child with scars or even future trauma, but then to a point to just call the child to order and say this. And most times parents go to that extreme. Most times, not all the time, most times they go to that extreme because of how kids are stubborn. So I think that we have to be in a society where we don't blame women or mothers for everything. Now women are not like before. Before we had majority of women being stay-at-home mothers to take care of the child. Now life has become so difficult that mothers have to go out to also help in order to assist the family as well. So now she does not have that full time as she used to be to take care of the family. So it should be more of a collaborative effort. But I appreciate you, of course, for calling in to share your take on that. Yeah, but discipline is a two-way thing, both the father and the mother.
Yeah, so like you said rightly that, the man is always the head of the family. I mean, even the wife, when she misbehaves or does something wrong, the man is always there to caution and also, sort of instill discipline, even though, she has a mind of her own. But then, thank you so much for all the, your views this morning. Let's take a look at some WhatsApp messages this morning. This was sent by Rabiu Abdul Ankanjiba from Katsina State. He said, "Good morning, Fatima and Sumayya. I am a classroom teacher. I have something to say on this issue. Discipline your child means teaching them responsible behavior and self-control." And he said, with appropriate and consistent discipline, your child will learn about consequences and taking responsibility for their own actions. The ultimate aim is to encourage the child to learn to manage both their feelings and behavior. But corporal punishment can cause serious physical and psychological harm to children. It teaches children that violence is an acceptable and appropriate strategy for resolving conflict or getting people to do what they want. It's ineffective as a means of discipline. Now, this has actually captured almost everything that every other caller has said. Definitely you have people that will agree and would also disagree.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, that's the essence of our conversation.
Yeah, like we said, it will create fear in the hearts of your children. They would be scared. It will create resentment. You see the child going towards the mother because she always, like you said, nurturing and bringing children close to say, okay, yes, you did bad, after scolding and what have you. So definitely, that the love for the mother will definitely be high, and the father will always be seen as a beast or a monster because he's always
But guess what? Sometimes kids see them as heroes.
Actually, because I mean, a lot of us have gone through corporal punishment, and it made us who we are today. But we are not saying the same should be done. I mean, one of the callers, attributed it to 30 years ago is different from now. And if you remember, I spoke about digital parenting also, which is also different from the analog way of our parents doing things way back. So, amongst children, you always find one that is stubborn and one that is always receiving the beating, even when other children have done something wrong, because you are seen as the elderly one to make corrections for your younger one.
There are houses that you see the parents are not even the kind of person that pick.
They will allow
but one
the
particular child will change that narrative.
He will change the narrative.
The parents will just have no choice but to pick up it. Essence of this conversation, of course, is all on also knowing how to do it, how to go about it. So I think it's a fair game to say that you just have to go with how every child behaves, but then make sure that you don't go extreme. Do not allow yourself get carried away with the anger of what a child does, because at the end of the day, he is still a child or she is still a child.
Well, we have another message. Let us pick some messages now. This one does not, he didn't mention his name, but then he said, "I don't agree with corporal punishment. Research suggests that corporal punishment is not an effective method of discipline in the long term. While it may stop undesired behavior in short term, it can lead to negative outcomes, like he mentioned 5. He said increased aggression and violence, decreased emotional intelligence and empathy, lower academic achievement, increased risks of mental health problems, and strained relationships between children and their caregivers." Definitely, we've mentioned that. And then he said, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the United Nations, and other organizations have condemned corporal punishment, citing its ineffective and potential harm, just like Dankanjiba said. Instead, alternative discipline methods that focus on teaching, guiding, and encouraging positive behavior have been shown to be more effective in promoting health development and relationships, definitely amongst parents and their children. I know that's what he's going to say, but let me quickly take this one if you have something to say. This is coming from a retired comrade, Clestus Aruta from High Level Makodi. He said, "Good morning, presenters and Nigerians. Please, corporal punishment is still very effective in home disciplines as well as other methods of discipline. So it's good to use the one that you know is working for each child, as some children are very scared of receiving lashes, canes, while others are afraid of not being foods to eat whenever they committed any offense. So apply the one working for your children." So what he's saying is, in a nutshell, is just like John said, his children fear him when they hear his voice because he knows them by their behaviors, and he knows who deserves beating and who doesn't.
You know, the funny part about the situation is the fact that the comments you read, continuously, the first one is saying an entirely different thing, and the other one is saying an entirely different thing. So the first one is saying, "I'm fully against this corporate, the corporal, punishment and all of that." And the moment he said American something organization, said, I'm like, come on now, we cannot cite Americans have the lunatic kids these days. So if we're citing them as example, we have seen how their own training has worked, and I don't think their training really resonates with our own level of morality in our own nation. So I don't think those should be the deciders of what happened in Africa, because our morality is on another level.
They have a way of, it's like he's saying the American Academy of Pediatrics. It's an academy that deals with issues that have to do with children.
Kids these days, especially in America, are nothing.
I mean, you can't even go. That's why I spoke about the digital parenting. I mean, in America, you see how parents are actually scared of touching their children because they can get imprisoned for doing that.
The government get to make decisions about your kids, which is something I do not agree with. And we've seen some Americans still fighting against
but regardless, there are still some Americans that still whoop their children. So because they don't believe it.
And tell you, the black, wherever we are, black are black. So black Americans are still saying, don't get that on me, like I'm going to improve you. But then apart from all of that, I agree with the whole, there should be a level of how your child is, and that's how you would do whatever works for you, as long as you do not leave your child traumatized. Yes, so last message said some children are scared of whooping. So if they're scared of that, they know not to do things out extreme. Or if you just carry the cane and just put beside you, they get scared. While other kids are afraid of the privileges, just like you said, where someone is, they're saying, "Oh, your sister is traveling, you're not traveling," or your sister is going to watch TV and you will not,
or you take away their gadgets because they are not paying attention.
Prefer, that punishment is more stringent to them. So whatever works,
whichever one works, but then just have a way of navigating whatever you do. Abdullahi, this is coming from Abdullahi Abubakar from Galtimari Street, Old GRA, Maiduguri, Borno State. I'm not going to be able to read everything you've sent because it's too long. But then he says, as a graduate of sociology student, corporal punishment would have to be violent to human rights, right? He said the right to human dignity, you cannot argue being forced to bend over, sometimes clearly exposing your behind. To have it hit repeatedly and painful is dignifying at all. Okay, he said the right to human dignity is secured in article in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, of which many nations are signed onto. The right to boldly integrate. You do not have complete self-determination as full personal autonomy over your body. I don't know what he's talking about, but then we are talking about corporal punishment, and he went ahead to give us a whole lot of background. And then at the end, he said corporal punishment is a completely inappropriate and what did he say? Pragmatically problematic, morally repugnant act that's completely indefensible on all levels, and anyone who supports it.
Are you saying I that supports it? Some horrible?
Well, that is a question for Abdullah to answer.
But yes, at the end of the day, like you said,
it's very, very long.
God made us unique in our own way. Our way of thinking is entirely different, and that's what makes the world.
I'm sure that Abdullah is actually trying to paint a lot of scenario of different harms and things that children have to face in some ways, and hence maybe the reason for some of the waywardness that some children tend to exhibit and some behaviors. So, I mean, this is the much that I wish we just continue this conversation up until when it's time for entertainment, but then we have our guests waiting. So this is the much that we can take, and we are so grateful for your calls and messages this morning. You gave us a good show as well. It's not just us giving you a show. And either way, just make sure that whatever punishment you're giving your children, you're not doing it too much that will take away the emotions, the love that you have for your children, and they begin to see you as a factor of Sumayya, what do I say? A villain, in their minds. So just find a way, to communicate with your children and know why they behave in certain ways that they behave before any punishment. Well, let's go on a quick break, and when we return, it's time for us to hear from our guest that is joining us here in Abuja, and definitely a Kannywood actor, to just tell us a little bit about what is happening in the Kannywood industry. So stay with us.